Hello everyone, welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, where sometimes some of us come at you at an undisclosed location in a very comfy chair. My name is Scott, and I'm joined, as usual, by the boys. I've got Shane over here,
Ahoy hoy.
and I've got Philip over here.
Hello.
If you haven't guessed already by the thumbnail and the massive amounts of advertising we do, today we are reading The Ultimates, Volume 1, Superhuman, out in 2002, written by Mark Millar, art by Bryan Hitch, coloured by Paul Mounts, and lettered by Chris Eliopoulos.
Nice.
Got
Well
that
done.
one. Well done me. Yes, so we today are reading The Ultimates, and I'll tell you about it first, and then we'll see who's in. So it's a set up a little bit after we kind of know that people like the Green Goblin and Magneto and other strange beings are kind of like rising up to challenge the like old order of everything that's going on, and basically citizens are just scared out of their minds. So the government go ahead and try to build a small but lethal team or army known as the Ultimates, and they've been created to kind of protect humanity from these new threats that are coming around. But at the time the Ultimates are being made, there are no threats, so one of them takes it upon themselves to make themselves a threat. And yeah, there we go. So that's pretty much what the Ultimates Volume 1 is about. So let's go ahead and have a quick look to see who's here for now. So first up, we've got Martin, first in, evening all. Hi, buddy. He was just messaging us about an hour ago saying he was still reading. He's leaving it quite close, but I hope you've got it done by now, buddy. Connie's here. Hi, hi. John is here. Made it. Hi, all. Been a while, mate. Lovely to see you here. We've got Pete. How you doing, Pete? Thank you for joining. Hope you were doing well as well. Kev's here. Hello, all. And we've got Jack as well. Hey, everyone. This has been a series I keep meaning to get into, but never get round to it. Have you read it, or are you watching this to see if you'd like to read it? Let us know. So there we go. So that is The Ultimates Volume 1. We are comfy. We are ready. Well, I'm comfy. We are ready to go. And I think, Shane, it's up to you now to kick us off, to tell us what you thought initially.
What did I think of this book? Bloody loved it. Marvel, early 2000s, yes please, with a cherry on top. Just this is my era of comics. I had so much fun reading this book. The characters are great. You might know them, you might not. There's a kind of a variation on most of the characters as well, which is nice. So if you only know them from the films, they're quite different in this, which was really nice to see. The writing, just spot on. Yeah, I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. I had a few nitpicks, obviously, but overall had a great time reading this book. So 2002.
Are you going to be bringing up your nitpicks
Obviously.
throughout the show? You're going to trickle them
Obviously.
in? Yeah. Great, man. Phil?
I'm pretty much of the same opinion. I was very much entertained reading this book. There are a few issues that I'm sure we'll get into in more depth, but nothing to take away from the actual enjoyment of the book. I very much enjoyed it, and you can clearly see as well there's a huge influence from this book on the MCU. I think a lot of the MCU stuff is very much based on the Ultimates, I suppose, the actual main comic book runs, and
especially like the Phase 1 stuff.
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, even like Samuel L. Jackson, it is him in this book. It even references it stuff in the book, and yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it all. Do have some problems. Some of the characters were a bit iffy, and have problems with, but not that it was written in in a bad way or anything. It was just the characters. I think they were meant to be dicks. I think we're not meant to like them.
To put it bluntly.
Yeah, and but yeah, had a good time. Enjoyed it. Good pick.
Thank you. That's it. Let's go.
Scott's not heard that in a while, has he? Good pick,
yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that before. Wow. I'll just soak that in. So Martin said he just got it done in time. Just got the book done in time. Pete's here, you know. And Jack has confirmed that he's watching this to see first, then he's going to make up his mind. So, hopefully our initial thoughts there have started to sway you to the good side. World Comic Reviews. I'm just happy to have got up early enough to have caught one of these live. Now, either you're on the other side of the world, you're in Australia or something, or you work a night shift or something.
Or you're just really lazy and get up whenever you feel like it.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, let us know where you're from, mate. That's awesome. Thank you very much for joining. Triple G says he loves Downhill after this, though. What?
Aww.
Oh, man. Well, Connie
Hey,
said she
spoiled it.
loves- Wait a minute. And World Comic Review says, give me the Olympic medal ages any day, but over the past few years I bought a bunch of 2000s Marvel graphic novels cheap at a spring sale, or to read some. Yeah, maybe you should now.
If this is one of them, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and he's from Japan. He's come in from Japan.
Wow.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. This is brilliant. I really enjoyed this. I mean, even though I picked it, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I just kind of knew that this was something that kind of possibly heavily influenced, the Avengers and the lead up to that film in the MCU. And yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say. I found it quite weird because sometimes we complain about not enough happening in books, and I was reading this, like the first 4 issues, not a lot really happens.
No.
But I've got nothing bad to say about that. I thought, even though not a lot happens, I thought this was perfectly paced. And
Well,
go on.
This is why I was slightly disappointed here that Pete said it goes downhill from here, because I think this book, it feels like a perfect setup. As in, like, volume 2, you're expecting something like the proverbial's really gonna hit the fan type of thing. Something big's gonna happen, a big threat, and this team's gonna get together. It's just like the Avengers movie, essentially. The Avengers get together. They're not a real team. Something happens. They become a real team, and they beat Loki and his army type of thing. So I, in my mind, have not read on. I'm expecting that. But if Pete says it all goes downhill from here, I don't know what to think. But then he did like Kingdom Come, so I mean,
it could be like the Marvel movies, though. I mean, the first Avengers film is great. Age of Ultron's not as good. I mean, it's still enjoyable, but it's not as good as the first one, is it? And then, so maybe it's that sort of quality. It's still good, but just not as good as Volume 1.
But like Scott said, not a lot happens in terms of even the threat at the end of this book is more like an internal threat, in terms of the Hulk injects himself with the serum, it's a wee bit silly to be fair, but then so it should mean that the next thing should be better, like an external extraterrestrial threat, and but hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it does pick up. This does feel like a really good setup, even though nothing happened.
I was wondering if Pete means the Ultimates 2, or does he mean volume 2 after
2.
this? Because the Ultimates, what we're reading now, we're talking about the first 6 issues, but this whole thing is 13.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he's not talking about the next 7 issues after this, or maybe he's talking about Ultimates 2.
But I'd be completely happy with this whole series being an internal thing, just them at the Triskelion, or the Triskelion, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd be happy if it's them in the base and it's more like their relationship with each other and their interactions. I really like that part. The action part, I'm okay if you're writing the characters well enough and their interactions so good. You don't need to interrupt it with action for me. Just keep that drama going, keep the suspense going. The end of the book, if the next volume was them dealing with what happens at the end of this book, I would be more than happy to see that dark, serious tone in a book.
I mean, I think that was one of the big things that we enjoyed about, I personally enjoyed about the Avengers film, the first one, and it was a lot about just the characters growing together, getting to know each other and learning about each other, and you can tell that film took a lot of that vibe from this book, and I just had that feeling all the way through, and I just found it so weird that nothing was happening, but I was loving it.
Yeah.
What is going on for me to feel like this? And
there was also like a lot of words without it being too like serious. Like it wasn't like building a huge world or something. But there's a lot of words in this book. Like it's not a quick read. I don't think. Like in terms of some of the stuff we read before, it didn't seem like it was flying through it. It wasn't long by no stretch of the imagination, but I just felt like a lot's happening, but it's not happening. But I am enjoying it.
right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. JWD. He's saying this series is great. The whole Ultimate Universe got me into comics 20 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And then, Kevin as well says this is one of the comics that got me into comics as well. So that's really good too. It's cool to see that, this was 20 years ago. So, we were all very young 20 years ago.
Were you alive 20 years ago, Scott?
Barely. And Triple G was saying, I mean, Volume 2 and 3 don't live up to this one. Once Loeb takes over, it crashes, in his honest opinion. Yes, a lot of people in the comments are saying they're struggling to hear me. I apologise for that. This is all I've got. I'm trying my best. The art that we see in the book as well, I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about it. It's very consistent. It looks great all the way throughout. I did struggle to accept Iron Man's costume design, the suit.
Yes.
It was, like after seeing how kind of
face was like a triangle. It was weird.
Yeah.
I suppose that's his ultimate Iron Man costume, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
So it was just weird.
Yeah, and I noticed there was quite a few like motion blur shots in this, motion blur like panels going on in the book, and I really appreciated them. That it's cool to see speed and movement conveyed that way in a whole panel, and I think what we've read lately hasn't had much stuff like that, so it was quite nice and refreshing to see that. That was good.
I didn't like the Giant Man suit, but they gave an explanation why they were kind of stuck over that, didn't they? This is like in terms of like they can't find material that big, and I can't remember where they worded it, but I was just thinking like, did they just refer to him as a big giant condom type thing? This big kind of rubber. That's the impression I got from the style of writing, like the way they were describing him. Just this big bit of rubber that's big enough to house the Giant Man. That was strange.
Yeah. And I think another thing that I really appreciated was there was a lot of landscape shots, a lot of massive, wide, far away shots. We had Tony Stark on, was it Mount Everest or in the Alps, wherever he was on the end of issue 1. We saw like the Triskelion, like that from like a big bird's eye view. That was awesome. And all that was just stunning.
Yeah, and it's similar to the John Paul Leon from the Creature of the Night book, where they had like the cityscapes, but they choose to put detail in the background, like a lot more detail than you really need. But again, I think it adds to the atmosphere. Not to mention, we got some rain. I love a good rainy atmosphere in a book.
I did think that when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, Phil's gonna love this."
It just adds to you don't need to draw rain, but when you include it, it's something different.
I will say one tiny little nitpick with the rain. It was far too straight. It was just complete straight lines. There was no give in any of those lines for me. Just wave a little one of them to show a little bit of movement. Yeah, just one.
Yeah, but rain doesn't turn or anything. It just falls straight.
No, well, there's wind. There's friction and motion. Whereas they're running through the rain, it still wouldn't just be completely straight lines. It's one little nitpick, Phil. Let me off. It's one tiny little nitpick.
Let me have this, Phil. Connie is making everyone feel old here by telling us that 20 years ago when this was out, she was 4 years old.
You're grounded, Connie. Go to your room.
And Kevin kind of agrees as well, saying that Iron Man's costume was not good. He remembers Bryan Hitch said it was based on a manga mech. It's like a Gundam type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it reminded me of like a Ben 10 character. Scott, you know what Ben 10 is.
Yeah, I'm
you
surprised
probably still watch it.
on repeat every night. Yeah, so a lot of people in the chat are now, feeling very old from that. So thank you, Connie. And Kevin is saying, rain makes everything dramatic. To you as well. We did have a few nice pages sent in by everyone who read this. So should we go ahead and take a look at what we chose and what everyone else chose for our favourite pages?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Phil, let's go with you first.
Well, I had a different page picked out, but it was chosen by somebody else. So I went with this. This was the opening, I think, of maybe issue 5, maybe.
Yeah.
And this is obviously the. I mean, Giant Man he takes 2 steps and he's probably going to be there. Like he's such a lazy git. Like why is he on like a helicopter being transported? But just the idea of him on this kind of harness and stuff being kind of dragged along to the battle, I thought was really cool. And again, there's the rain, there's the straight lines of the rain there. And the other thing I quite liked about this too, like there are quite a few innuendos in this book. Quite a few.
Quite.
And obviously we've heard of like Debbie does Dallas. So here's Hulk does Manhattan, I just thought that was obviously clearly intentional. And that's against a bit of fun, but again, it's just that image the him being carried. I thought, what a lazy bee.
Well, I kind of took that as he was being carried around because of how much energy he burned so quickly.
And also, the Triskelion is on an island off Manhattan.
That.
Then can he not just be a normal sized man then in the normal helicopter and then become Giant Man at the scene?
But then it wouldn't look so cool when they're carrying him like Jesus into the city to take on the Hulk.
It does look cool, but yeah, like Jesus.
Like Jesus.
Just like Jesus would kick the Hulk's butt.
Is that a comic? Is that a comic you want to see? Okay.
I don't think Marvel would do that book though. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, they probably don't have the rights, do they? Okay, so this is my page, and this is the page that Phil also wanted to pick. This was the very first page from issue 5, and this is where Giant Man and everyone else is being carried into Manhattan to fight the Hulk, and it's just, I think, what Giant Man says there, he says, geez, Hulk did all this in like 10 minutes? And, there's a lot of damage there. So it's very impressive what he's done already, but it's also, the way it's been done just looks, I know it's destruction and devastation, but it looks stunning, the way it's been done there. It's a very moody, very lovely looking landscape. The smoke and the fire, and you can see the kind of glow from the fire and the smoke, and it just looks awesome, and all of these helicopters coming in just look very menacing. And
the motion in the propellers.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said I had emotion.
No, I'm afraid I'm not a very emotive person, as you well know. But no, just the propellers, like you said. It's just really cool. It's a cool shot. If this was like a movie or TV show, and you kind of like opened up a city or whatever, had a scene with that, you'd be like, wow, that looks cool. Look at that city on fire. And here come the heroes being escorted. Like, oh dear. It's lovely.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, and then Shane, we will move on to yours.
I mean, we know how I feel about faces. And look at Shannon Elizabeth's face. Is that girl not gorgeous? I just thought this was absolutely stunning. And it not only looks exactly like Shannon Elizabeth, but it puts this comic book square in 2002 when Shannon Elizabeth was popular.
See, that's one of the things I have. There's a lot of celebrity name drops, and some celebrities are still pretty big names today, and Shannon Elizabeth is not one of them. Like her stock really fell pretty much around that time. Like after American Pie movies came out and a few wee things, and then she was gone, and this was her time to shine, I suppose. But I would imagine she was paid a pretty penny to appear in this book, because they can't use her name and her likeness without giving her something.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. And she's forever there on the page, so that's got to be something, isn't it? Like I would love that.
She does look really good in that this image. It's really good drawing off her. Very good.
It is. It's lovely. Gorgeous face.
And if you can see, right in the bottom of that image, a pink little piece of paper, it says happy birthday.
Oh,
It
And
does.
there's someone in the chat that needs a big happy birthday. He told us last week, and he's telling us again now. 20 years ago he was 16, and today he has turned 38. Happy
36.
birthday, Martin. 36.
Happy
sorry.
birthday,
What did I say?
Hey.
Happy birthday. You're 36, and that's fantastic. Happy birthday. Thank you so much for joining us on your birthday. We hope you've had a fantastic day, and you didn't have to rush too much to read this book to join in.
it's a good age. Good age.
Why?
I can't remember. It was so long ago.
But yes, happy birthday, Martin. And we should also say happy birthday to Beth as well. She's not here today, Liam's wife. She's not here today, but it's her birthday today as well, and she has turned a big 3-0.
Happy birthday, Beth. Hope you're
Happy
having a lovely
birthday.
day.
That's so young, isn't it? 30.
So let's go ahead and see some of the page picks that the other guys have sent in today. So Kevin, he sent this one. Captain America coming in at the end of issue 1. Well, halfway through issue 1, his first appearance there. Asking, what are all the other army guys waiting for? Christmas? So really
I
cool.
love that he calls them ladies.
Yeah, ladies.
Come on, ladies.
And he said that the whole build up to Cap's reveal is so worth it. The whole of the issue 1, though, is his favourite art throughout the entire book.
Mhm.
Love that. Love that.
I did. I read issue 1 last Wednesday after last week's show, and I texted you guys saying, I've just read issue 1. If the art's like this, we're going to struggle to pick one page because issue 1, even though I didn't pick a page from it, issue 1 throughout was really, really good.
See, but you said nothing happens in the first 4 issues. So because you read issue 1 last week, you forgot about the entire battle in issue 1. It was just action from start to finish.
And yes, but when I say nothing happens, I don't mean like action scenes. I just mean like in terms of like the progression of the story. If you know what I mean, like we got all the set up. We got introduced to Captain America. Here's why he's Captain America. Here's why he's in the year 2002, and introduced all the other characters. But then nothing happened until the last 2 issues. Really, that's what I mean. But
Okay.
I did forget about issue 1 too, to be honest, until today. But yes,
We also had a pic sent in from Connie.
this is on my
this
list too.
Yeah, this is where Hulk is bursting out of the ambulance. Like Bruce Banner's finally turning into Hulk. She says, this is my fave because I like it that it's the first time we properly see the Hulk in this series rather than just hear him being mentioned, and it really made her laugh that the first thing we hear the Hulk say is Hulk wants Freddie Prinze Jr. She also wanted to pick the Captain America page, but she predicted that someone else already had, and so she went for this one instead.
Yeah, I thought someone would, because that Captain America was on my list as well as pages.
See,
But sorry, could I just say one tiny nitpick with that ambulance scene?
Yeah.
The EMTs ordering coffee while they're calling ahead with the dead guy in the back of the ambulance.
Yep.
So unprofessional. It's like, yeah, we've got a dead one. We're trying, but he's not coming back. Oh, yeah, Frappuccino, please. Thanks. Bye. See you in a minute.
Very insensitive. Too used to this kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And then we've got one more as well, sent in from Dave. This is when Thor just comes in to kick Hulk's ass, and that's pretty much why he likes it. He loved the entrance of Thor, just coming in to just batter Hulk.
Yeah.
it was cool.
Again, that was going to be one of my picks, but I thought someone else would pick it. It's so cool.
There were quite a few of those pages, like these kind of like full spread pages where you just have some awesome impact scene or whatever, and that was one of them. But even the page before that one, if I remember, the bolt of lightning coming down, I think it was the Empire State Building, I think, or like some sort of tall skyscraper, and that just looked really cool, very atmospheric. But just on, because I was actually thinking of Connie whenever I was reading this today, in terms of, I know she's a Winter Soldier fan, and I just think to myself, like having Bucky Barnes as an old man, like it was fine, played its part in the story for Captain America missing his old friends and stuff, but like I feel like they should have the Winter Soldier in this as well. along with him because I like the Winter Soldier myself. And old man
I
Bucky Barnes, he's not going to do it now. Like he's too old.
But also, he married Steve's gal. Like, you don't
Gail.
do that.
Gail.
Dead or not, you do not marry your friend's gal. No. That is inappropriate.
I have that down as a point to make because I'm not sure about that whole part of the story because Gail didn't even want to talk to him, and I don't like the fact their name's Gail. It should be Peggy because I'm used to the movies. It shouldn't be Gail. Like I didn't like Gail. No offense to anyone called Gail. It's a lovely name, but I can't think past Gail Platt. You know, when someone's called Gail, I'm thinking of Gail Platt from Coronation Street.
No offense. Do you think anyone named Gail would watch the Nerd Herd comic book club?
There might be.
If anyone knows a Gail, what to do, let us know.
But no, I think it was kind of sweet though that she didn't want to see him because she didn't want him to see her. I thought that was like kind of heartbreaking, you know, because he was still young and he was gonna see her the way she was, and then in an instant, his memory of her was gonna just be completely changed forever, and see her as the old lady. Oh, that kind of broke my heart a bit.
Yeah,
it was sad. Yeah, but you know, it's another twist in Captain America's story in this little universe, isn't it? You know, for him to learn about his best friend and his fiance.
Yeah. So not only has he missed like 60 years of his life, he wakes up and his best friend's been ploughing his wife, and he's now got to be like a superhero. Like it's not just the Nazis now; it's super-powered people he's got to deal with. On top of that, he's got a team of, like, let's be fair, 2/3 are douchebags on the team that he's got to deal with. He's the politest guy in the world. So how do you deal with that?
I actually thought Captain America was a bit of a douchebag in this, and I've liked Captain America most things we've read.
He was great until he had to fight the Hulk, and then all he wanted to do was punch him in the face. He didn't want to talk it through. He didn't want to try and nothing rational. His line was, hit him till he's down, and I was like, that's not something Captain America would do.
And even when he was down, he's like, hey, you're something to scratch on your cheek, and he kicked it to this one. Again, that's not Captain America for me. That's one thing that put me off. He was very arrogant. I didn't like it. There's actually very few characters I did like in this. I honestly can't pick a good character because even Betty was a real bitch to Bruce.
Oh, that's my note is Betty equals bitch.
Yeah.
That's all I put on.
I actually wrote Betty equals DACK, but I thought I can't say that word twice in the show. So just... But yeah, like Betty was awful. Bruce Banner they made him look really weak.
Yeah.
Because not even in terms of like being the Hulk, like as a scientist, like having the big brain, he came across quite dumb. Like the idea of injecting himself with this serum just so he can give the team a threat to fight in front of the public is really stupid. I can understand the idea of him not maybe getting the formula right for the serum and maybe being under a bit of pressure, getting treated like crap by Betty, and then maybe out of desperation takes a risk for like a test or something, and it goes wrong. He becomes the Hulk. Bang, fight. Right. That's how it should have been for me. Not like I'm going to do this on purpose. Know what's going to happen. No one will come and take me down, and it just seemed a bit.
What if they couldn't take him down? I know he gave them the syringe.
Yeah.
They gave him that. He gave them that syringe to use on him, but he smashes that pretty much straight away.
Yeah,
so he had no plan B to stop himself. You know, like he'd already killed dozens of people. Nick Fury says he's killed dozens of people.
Yeah. Well, and he done something with the corpse of one, but was it just stealing the clothes of a fat corpse?
He stripped a fat corpse for his trousers. I did laugh. I mean, I shouldn't because he just told me he'd murdered dozens of people. But then he's like, yeah, now he's stripping a fat corpse of his pants.
This is one of the things I actually noted down as part of the writing. I think Mark Millar done a good job at explaining certain things. Like if the Hulk becomes a Hulk and grows big and massive, how does he get clothes? You know?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like they reference Giant Man. He says he can't eat when he's Giant Man because if he shrinks to the normal size, it gets messy. So it's like he's applying logic in certain things, and he has to explain them by one or two lines. So that kind of like the fat corpse stealing their clothes obviously explains that part of his clothing. I quite like that. That was quite smart.
Me
But
too.
Yeah.
Like, like I've always enjoyed people explaining things like that, like how normal things would affect, superpowered people, and
mhm.
but and sometimes they just brush over it in comics, or they just go because it is, and that's how it works, and they don't just explain little things like that. And it was just cool just to think, I wouldn't have never thought, oh, okay, if he eats a cow, when he goes back to normal, the cow's not going to shrink with him.
No, he's just going to explode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just it was cool. It was cool to have that kind of logic there, like you said, Phil. Um, I was a bit thrown by Thor's personality
Yeah, I
and
didn't like him.
his logic in thinking, and and again, I think this is skewed by my first thing about Thor. My first introduction to Thor was in the MCU, so he kind of seemed like a little bit like dumbed down and just wanted to fight, a bit of a meathead kind of thing. But then you read this, and he's like all for like humanitarian causes and just trying to, like he only joined the fight to fight Hulk when George Bush doubled the money to go towards some sort of aid, and I can't quite remember what it was, but
International aid, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, so I mean, he's a terrorist. He just held America hostage. Like, he blackmailed America to get his help, essentially. So he's not a hero. Hulk wants nothing more than to smash Betty in his Hulk form. So he's murdered dozens of people. So he's not a hero. Giant Man beats his wife. He's not a hero. So Iron Man, I mean, he's only doing it because he's dying. He's not a hero, is he really, when you think about it? Wasp is hiding who she really is. She's a mutant. But she's the only one that's kind of the one that you
I
can
know.
say is a hero
Yeah.
on the team. Everyone else, either selfish reasons or are just horrible people.
I think this is what kept me reading. I think you've just helped me nail it on the head there, like why I was enjoying this despite the fact that nothing was happening. Like, it was because they all weren't 100% perfect, amazing people, and they all had their issues and their flaws, and like why did they deserve to be in this team and all this. And yeah, I think you've helped me out there.
Even
Yeah,
the
That's what
team,
kept me going.
the team itself, they're not like it was all like a publicity stunt almost, wasn't it? Really, in a way to kind
Yeah.
of make money, and Tony Stark was benefiting from the arms deal he had made. He was getting the government military fund money and stuff, and built this huge big uh, base or whatever that wasn't being utilized because they didn't have no one to fight. It just seemed very fake. And even Samuel L. Jackson, to be fair, like again, he's I suppose he's the ultimate spy, isn't he? Like he has a hidden backstory there too. I'd imagine he's not quite right either. And
Yeah.
but I think Scott, you're right. Like just the idea that all these different characters have these different dynamics, put them all together and see what happens. And I think that's what we've got. And
Yeah.
you're right what you say earlier on about if the second volume, as Shane was saying, if that was to follow what happens with Hank Pym and Jan, like obviously, does she die? I can't remember how it actually ended.
it was
Or like
heavily implied.
she's not there. Like she's gone, isn't
Yeah,
she?
she's not there.
Yeah. So if there's a fallout from that, and then maybe the heroes fight amongst themselves or something like that, that would be interesting, I suppose. As would an alien invasion. One of the two. Just give us something like
Either
that.
or. Either
Yeah.
or.
Either.
Connie is kind of agreeing that she hates self-righteous, like all goody two-shoes heroes. She likes her heroes with a bit of grit, and I bet that's why she loves Winter Soldier.
I'd
Yeah,
say Sebastian Stan has something to do with that as well, I think, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's gross. Who
Ah.
wants to look at him?
Yeah, good. I don't think he's attractive at all.
No. Um, but yeah, like there's not like they were written so well, like and they're not anti-heroes because they are like essentially the heroes, I know, but it was the selfish reasons and things like that. It does make it more interesting in the book, and
Yeah.
it showed that they're not really a team. When they were fighting the Hulk, they were kind of just taking turns. They weren't doing what a team does and sort of teaming up and doing
Bounce off each other.
combos. Yeah, exactly. They were just like,
Yeah.
all right, it's Iron Man's turn now. It's Wasp's turn. Now it's Thor's turn. Now it's Cap's turn. Like, they didn't come together as a team, because if they had, they might have brought him down a lot quicker.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of a way to kind of round this up. It's kind of like they are just a bunch of people who want to be heroes. They're a bunch of flawed people who want to be heroes to serve justice for their own selfish ways. Selfish
In the
needs.
guise of charity, helping the world,
Yeah.
helping others. Like, they'll pretend, like Thor will say, oh well, it's to help the world, so you'll blackmail a country to save it if they help the world, and Tony will only give his stuff away and give his stuff to charity and help the world because he's dying, because he doesn't have much time left. So would Tony be doing this if he weren't dying?
Yes, but there were some nice moments in there too. Like Tony had purchased like Captain America's helmet and stuff. Like there's a bit of heartwarming in there as well. It's not all
Yeah.
cold. There's some
Would
warmth
he have
there.
given it to him if he weren't dying? Again,
He would maybe sell it to him. But even Thor, to be fair, like Thor's like an alien. He doesn't really understand like humans, and I think he referred to it as well. He never understood the idea of humans kind of destroying themselves for money or whatever, and things like that. So I get that as an alien god, he doesn't know, but
So you just destroy each other for honor. I mean, he's from Valhalla, like where they fight just to fight. So you can't really say, you can't judge humans for fighting for a different reason than why you fight. You fight just so you could brag about winning. Humans fight for land and money and things. What's the difference?
it's just morals, I suppose.
Everyone's got the moral high ground when you're a god.
He is a literal god, though. So
He's no Chris Hemsworth, though.
nah, he wasn't. I don't think Thor was even drawn handsomely. To be honest, you're right.
No, I agree there. Jack is saying he's guessing that this is a standalone from the rest of the Ultimates universe. Like, you don't have to read anything else to understand it. There are like 2 prequel books. I say prequel quite loosely. Isn't there like Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men?
And
to
Fantastic
read?
Four is there, I
But-
think.
Yeah, just before this, but you don't need to.
Yeah, like I'm not convinced. Like the Ultimate Spider-Man runs fairly long. I think there's like 4 big volumes, like omnibus off it, I think. But I don't know how much you need to know of that, if anything. This
Yeah.
again, if you're reading this from the start, like this is the first time I've read of the Ultimate Universe. That's it. Just start from here and
Yeah,
work
it's
away.
totally
And
fine. Yeah, you will understand everything. Not a problem there. What was cool though was, even though this was released 5 years before the first Iron Man film, there was references to Robert Downey Jr. Not in not in the scene where they were talking about, oh, who would act as you and all this, but it was when Captain America was about to see Bucky, and they were talking about like Captain America's broken nose, and he's like, Samuel Jackson's broken nose, and he's like, oh, don't worry, this nose has been smashed more times than Robert Downey Jr. So there's like the first nod, to Robert
That
Downey
aged
Jr.
well.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And then you've got, when they are talking about like, who would act as you, and then Nick Fury is like, of course, Samuel Jackson, and I really like that scene. And again, it was just that kind of down to earth, proper, like, human feeling, relationship kind of building scene, that kind of drew me into enjoying this so much.
I really like that scene as well, because when Jen was like, and who would play me? And they were like, Lucy Liu. And she's like, oh, because she's the only Asian actress you know. She's like, who was your second choice? Bruce Lee?
And Captain America just in the background going, who's that?
Who's Bruce Lee? Yeah.
and Brad Pitt as
Taking
well.
notes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I've written down some celebrity names. So Nicolas Cage, Lucy Liu, Bruce Lee, Brad Pitt, Shannon Elizabeth, Robert Downey Jr., Johnny Depp, Woody Allen, Freddie Prinze Jr., and I'm sure there's more. It's like, why does Mark Millar feel the need to have all these like celebrity names included? Like, I don't.
He wants to
like,
date his comics. He wants to make sure you know what era his comics are from.
That's the problem in terms of like if they didn't mention any of those celebrities, didn't have Shannon Elizabeth, and you read this book, you wouldn't think it was 2002, other than obviously like you mentioned, like the kind of type and the language and stuff. But when you put these in it, it's like,
And the Nokia 3210 that
This is
that
correct.
Jan was using to get a text from
Yeah.
Tony Stark.
She
Yeah.
should have just used that to beat the Hulk. She'd have won in an instant. Hulk don't stand a chance against the Nokia 3310. We all know how indestructible that phone is.
Jesus, yeah, 100%. Try that. What the hell?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's because of those elements included in the book. That's why it shows its age. Like it's 20 years ago. That's like even Connie said earlier in the chat. She had to Google who Shannon Elizabeth was. You
I
know,
don't know.
and I'm sure she's probably doesn't. She's never had a Nokia 3310 in her hand either. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things that people today reading this book from the off. I'm not sure how old Jack is. He's obviously thinking about reading this book. There may be some references that has just missed a lot of people.
I've just googled who Shannon Elizabeth is.
Big news.
Now I recognise her.
It's just, yeah.
I'll leave it. I'll leave it like that.
She's from a movie called Jack Frost, which is
yes,
a
that's
horror
what I
movie about a killer snowman where she's murdered in the bathtub.
I just know her from American Pie, which gets everything out. That's where I know her from.
So Kevin's given us some clarification, I think here. Spidey fought Hulk in an Ultimate Team-Up book, he thinks, and we get a reference to that in this book. Yeah, we do see that reference as one panel, to, I think in issue 1. Yeah, so I think that's more aimed towards Jack, but Connie's like, is that the blue Nokia with Snake on it?
Snake is the greatest ever mobile game ever invented.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring up the two things. First of all, horny Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
What was the need?
Yeah,
There was none.
No,
That was
it was one of those things again, wasn't it?
well, the only thing I took from it was that Bruce Banner and the Hulk are obviously separate. So Hulk kind of wants to get at Betty because he wants, he wants to hurt Bruce or something in a way. But then later on, he was like, "Betty, don't leave Bruce. He's all Bruce has," type of thing. So then I was confused there too. But you're right with the horniness, and I'm pretty certain at some point in the book, he was almost going to use the words Hulk smash in reference to chasing after Betty. He just stopped himself saying the words Hulk smash. But he was going there.
Yeah, because she says to Nick Fury, doesn't she, on the phone? She's like, "Did you hear what he's gonna do to me?" And I was like, that was a bit unnecessary. I think it was. Maybe it was played for laughs. I don't know, but it came about too creepy and really hard for that character to redeem himself for me.
That's the thing. It was less, as we've said, less horny, more rapey, essentially, wasn't it? And that's, again, a book like that written in 2022 wouldn't happen. Now, I'm not saying it was okay back then, but certainly there's a lot of things you would have got away with more. But again,
there are a lot of things he gets away with in this book. He does use a certain word in this book, referring to a bunch of people as a gaggle of.
Yes.
But yeah,
but then it kind of makes me wonder, was there any outrage at all at the time? Anything? Did anyone bat an eyelid?
No, no one cared in 2002.
Were you outraged? Was Martin outraged? Connie, were you when we, the guys who've read it, you know what Shane's mentioning there. I read it and I was like, okay, I didn't react badly to it, but. Yeah, I agree with Phil. I wouldn't write it now.
Mm-hmm.
No. You know what I mean?
Back in 2002, no one cared. There were no one. Everyone took it as what it was. It was just a piece of work that you could either choose to read or not. You could put it down and push it away. You didn't have to go online and cancel anyone because they made a bad joke. Dial up.
Just hit them a slap and it's okay.
Spend 20 minutes waiting for someone to get off the phone so you can then spend another 20 minutes trying to get on the net. Yeah.
Do you remember dial-up, Scott?
Yeah, I remember dial-up.
Oh.
Yeah. Connie won't.
Yeah. What I was referring to more about the outrage wasn't so much like the reader would be outraged. It's one of those things that if a newspaper or somebody gets hold of the story and they're outraged for other readers and it becomes like a campaign on Twitter or something like that, it's not so much like the reader themselves being outraged. I just think that certain standards maybe they wouldn't get away with today, not because of the reader, but because of other people who think comics should be more friendly, I suppose.
So
But
Kev is
back in
saying
2000.
like it wouldn't play now. That
No.
wouldn't work now. Like people would be mad. And then Connie is saying, I didn't know if it was one of those things that was like funnier or something back then, but it was just a bit, you know. And
That's a really good impression of that emoji there, Scott.
yeah. And Martin said it didn't phase him at all. What's worse was Horny Hulk or inbred Hulk from Old Man Logan.
I was thinking about this as well today. Like, we obviously read Old Man Hogan when we have inbred Hulk and stuff like this, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, do Marvel not like Hulk? Because
No.
they haven't give a good impression of Hulk or Bruce Banner in this book. And even with Old Man Logan, he was no good impression there either. Like, do they not like this guy? So weird.
Yeah.
I just think it was just a little bit unnecessary. If it was played for laughs, I think it fell flat. I think you could have gone more horny rather than rapey, like Phil said. He could have been quite horny. He just wants to see Betty because he hasn't seen her in ages because Hulk's been away for a while, hasn't he? So you just make him horny for Betty. That would have been quite funny and fair. But it was a bit creepy. And after telling us that he's just murdered dozens of people, and now he's trying to do terrible things to Betty. I know she's been a bitch in the book, but she doesn't deserve this version of Hulk going after her. How do you redeem this character after that? How do you redeem Bruce Banner for doing this in the first place? And then how do you redeem the Hulk? It's impossible.
Well, a quick, swift kick to the jaw from Captain America. That's how they dealt with that, isn't it? We were just like, oh, you've got this gash on your cheek. I don't have a gash on the cheek. Whack! There it is.
He does also kick Hulk up the nuts, which is great to see.
I thought it was the other way around.
No, Captain America kicks Hulk right up the nuts. Yes.
Captain America was getting the better for the Hulk in that fight initially, wasn't he? And then it looked like Hulk was down. So it was definitely Cap kicking Hulk in the nuts.
Yep.
Yeah. Kev saying Mark Millar doesn't like Hulk, or at least he thinks too much about Hulk's sex life. So he might like Hulk too much. Yes. Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was obviously the whole fight argument between Giant Man and Wasp in the last issue.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Again,
came out of nowhere.
That went way too far. Again,
because Hank Pym was really insulting. Like not even what he was saying was insulting, but he was going out of his way to really be insulting, And
after how they were in the first 4 issues, or issues 2 to 5, that came out of nowhere. There was no snide remarks between them in the previous issues. Nothing that would ever indicate that this is what happens when no one's around.
But also, Jan referred to Hulk being like a better scientist or something on those lines. But was there any kind of marks between Jan and Bruce Banner throughout that was like at all kind of like she admires him in any kind of way? Again, that was out of nowhere as well.
Yeah.
It just came out of nowhere. I feel like it wasn't needed in this volume, that last issue.
Yeah.
But it was funny getting the bug spray though. That they had to admit that getting the wasp spray was quite funny.
A little bit. But yeah, it just felt again. It just went too over the top, too far. But then, are we just looking at again how these people who are supposed to be part of the team called the Ultimates, indicating that these are the ultimate people to deal with any of these situations, and then we're just seeing how flawed they really are and how they can just be horrible people at the same time, whilst putting on this face to save people and do the right thing for America and the world and all this.
But it just came out of nowhere. And they mentioned that this has happened before because he said to her, why do you keep starting this when you know you come off worse? And it's like, so this has happened before, yet they've been lovey-dovey from issue 2 to issue 5. This has just come out of nowhere. It was ridiculous. It was just a massive 180. It just
100% out of nowhere. When the title of the issue was called Giant Man versus the Wasp, I didn't expect that.
No, and the thing is, again, referring to this book as a good setup, throughout the story they did, they got Banner, or they mentioned they're getting Banner demoted from the top scientist or whatever. There was something a bit fishy with them together, they had their own motives, whatever, and there was something, but you thought they were in it together. whatever their schemes are to be part of the Ultimates. They were in it as a team, and yeah, like I mean, Jan is probably my favorite character in the book because everyone else was a douchebag. So I hope Jan survives it and gets her own back on her abuser in the second volume. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Well, Connie is asking the big question here, and probably not as big as a question as we would ask it in the Killing Joke, but did she die?
That last page looked
Hope
like
not.
it, didn't it? She wasn't there, and the ants were like leaving. Did they
Yeah.
eat her? Did they? What would an ant do if it doesn't eat you or drag you away? What's the other
Like leave you alone?
Yeah, like cruel.
That's
Like they didn't have little boxing gloves on. So what did they do to her?
no idea. And
Plus, she was in the nude, so I'm guessing nipple twisters. Just like last week's book we read last week. But the thing
Yeah.
is, like, did she die in Secret Wars?
no.
But she
Wait.
did. We thought she died in Secret Wars,
Yeah.
didn't we? Or just
Yeah,
come
didn't
back?
Magneto saved her, didn't he?
Okay.
And
Yeah, so
then
we
he
thought
like
she died.
yeah, he sort of fancied her, didn't he, and kissed her and
Because I was just thinking, the two books I've read of the Wasp in it, like she seems to have died in both of them. Again, another character Marvel mustn't seem to care about. But yeah, and she seemed to get naked a lot as well. Again, I would have thought if you're able to go and turn into a wasp, you would have some sort of article of clothing that would allow you to shrink with you.
Yeah.
but you would have to wear that under your clothes all the time.
Yeah, but she seemed to get naked quite a lot.
Well, she had a nice body. Why shouldn't she?
Of course, she distracted the Hulk with her rack, and
Does Betty have a rack like this?
Yeah. It's weird. Again, I feel like that was a very 2002 thing to do.
yeah, probably.
Like,
Yeah, simple answer. Let's distract him with boobs. Boobs wins.
like
How
Nick
do you
Fury
distract a
was
horny
like, yeah.
guy? Boobs.
Never mind what they refer to as the most dangerous weapon in the world, i.e. Captain America. Here's some boobs. That will stop you. Yeah.
Speaking of Captain America and the whole fight between them, I did think it was awesome that they dropped a tank on the Hulk
Yeah, that was
with
cool.
Captain America in there. That panel, I didn't really quite understand what happened in that panel because you just kind of see that light fall down,
Mm-hmm.
and then I thought, all right, something has hit him. Then the tank came in, but then it was cleared up later on that the tank
Yeah.
fell on him, and I was like, that is cool.
Even the image of like Captain America in the tank is just
Yeah.
very like reminiscent of like Batman and the Batmobile in a way.
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I kind of it took me. I thought of like a Lee Bermejo cover I've seen recently of Batman and the Batmobile. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, it's cool.
is there anything else you guys want to bring up?
That's all my notes.
Yep, that's all my notes.
Okay, and that's all my notes.
I never
So-
get through all my notes. What happened?
Whoa.
Enjoyed them.
Well, probably the fact that it was a good
Did.
book and you didn't write that much. Okay, well, we'll move on then, shall we, to the final thoughts and scores. Guys, it seems like quite a few of you have read along with the book. We've had a few early scores from people who've needed to jump off. So do go ahead and leave your scores, and as usual, we'll add it up to ours and see if this book makes the top 10. Shane, do you want to go ahead first?
Absolutely. I love a Marvel book. I've said it before, pre-2014, peak Marvel for me, and 2002, great era to read any comic book, really. DC and Marvel were smashing it at in that time period. This was great. I haven't read it before. I tend to stay away from Avengers, nothing against them. They just never interested me. I was more X-Men, Fantastic Four, the sort of pre-made teams. But this was just so much fun. This was so good, so well written. For such unlikable characters to actually make you interested in them in 6 issues was done really, really well. Like I say, they're not all heroes. They've all got problems. They're all doing it for selfish reasons. I don't care at the end of the day. As long as you're written well enough to keep my interest for the entirety of the book, that's what I'm interested in. And this did that. I was interested from the first issue to the last issue. I do think the last issue was not needed in this trade. I think it did bring it to a grinding halt. It should have ended on that great action. They've just beat the Hulk. That's where it should have ended. But I really, really enjoyed it. The art's great throughout. The faces are gorgeous. The designs of the characters are great, especially early Captain America. I really like the mask that he had on. For some reason, everyone knew who he was. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe the Germans didn't, but he was going to kill them, so they didn't need to not see his face, but it still looked really cool. So yeah, I enjoyed everything about this. There were obviously all the nitpicks that I've said. It does come down a little bit in scoring, but overall, I think I'm going to have to give this an 8.5.
Wow.
Great. Brilliant. Awesome. Phil, over to you.
I mean, I was entertained. Like I say, I enjoyed the story. The problems I do have with it is the fact that it, whilst I enjoyed the setup, it does feel like that. It feels like it's setting something up more than as opposed to as a finished arc. It obviously is. We don't get like a definite end here at this story, which is fine. But as Shane always says, it's like he makes it the one and done. This isn't the one and done. It's a setup. So I feel like it kind of a bit reserved and kind of giving it a high score just based on that because I'm hoping it gets better, and that's my thinking. I have the omnibus. I'm hoping to read the whole thing, and I'm hoping it does improve. We've mentioned the kind of the horny Hulk and some of the kind of things that wouldn't really fly today, and they're not hugely outrageous, but they're bad enough to be kind of portrayed in a comic book. I think I kind of mark it down for that. The art, I've not a bad thing to say about it, to be honest. It's not my favorite art, but it's still really, really good to look at and very atmospheric. I love the rain. I have to admit, I do like the rain and the lightning. It's all pretty good. Again, the celebrity name drops. That's I find that irks me. Like just like okay, Johnny Depp I like, Nicolas Cage I quite like, Brad Pitt I like, but the rest of them are like set listers. Like who are they and where are they now? So it ages the book for me, and I don't like that it ages the book because if you didn't put that in, the book would still be more relevant today. I'm going for 7.5. That's where I'm at with this, hoping that the other volumes get better. But I enjoyed it.
Great, awesome. Okay, so we've had a few scores in. So Triple G gave his early. He said it's a 8.5 for him. He dashed off to watch Moon Knight. Fair enough. Pete Thornton as well. He says, sorry, gotta leave early. Dinner bell's ringing. He liked this story a lot, and the art worked really well. The 2002 references were awesome, and Nick Fury looked just like Samuel. And he would want to give this an 8 out of 10. Awesome. So then we got Connie as well. She's giving it an 8.5 there. Andy is giving it a 7.5, same as Phil. Kevin is saying 8.5. Mark Millar and Bryan Hitch at the top of their game. Cool, nice. And then Martin really enjoyed this. Liked the characters and the story, and we'll read on to find out what's next. Easy 8 from me. Great pick this week, Scott. Oh my god. Thank you.
We have to encourage you to pick more good picks, so it's good to encourage you when you actually pick a good one for a change.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Thanks. So, okay. Let me just do this. Okay, so over to me. So, the thing I like about doing this last is because you guys have pretty much said everything that I want to say, and I can just go, yeah, same.
Same seas.
Same. Yeah, this was a really cool book. I think this is probably one of the best Marvel books that I've read for the nerdhood, and it's really close to the God Butcher for me in terms of like how much I enjoyed it. Like, and even though they're completely different stories, a lot of action in God Butcher and not in this. Again, I was just bewildered by the fact that nothing was going on, and I was so gripped, and it was all because of these human interactions. And lately, in the last couple of months that we've been doing this, I have been learning more about myself, that I just love reading about the relationships that go on in the stories that we're reading, and I think that's something that's really drawn me to this book, and the fact that these people are just so incredibly flawed, but then they have to put this guise up to be the faces of America to save them from these massive threats that only they can save them from, and all this. Yeah, and I thought, it was just amazing. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, like Phil, I do think it's going to and should get better, because this is definitely a setup. We've just seen the team come together. We've seen their first, I want to say, I wouldn't even say it was a full fight. It was like a half a fight that Thor just kind of stopped. and then the Wasp did as well. But yeah, the art lovely to look at. I'm not really bothered about rain. And, but the things I enjoyed most were the massive landscape and wide shots. Really cool book. Definitely want to read more, and I'm looking forward to hopefully reading it on the Nerdhood. I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Ooh, nice.
There we go. So, you guys in the chat, we had 3 8.5s, 2 8s, and a 7.5, bringing you guys to a whopping 8.2. It's pretty good. And then combining that with Phil's 7.5 and mine and Shane's 8.5 each, we get a grand total of 8.2.
Nice.
There we go. So, let's go ahead and see if this gets on the top 10, shall we? There it is. Ooh, look at that. So it's just bumped the Kill Lock and the rest of the books there down, so it is now 4th place.
Oh, and the top line is now just DC and Marvel.
Yes, look at that. And here is the rest of the leaderboard as well for you guys to look at.
Wow. I think that's well deserved. That's where it should be. It should have been on that top shelf.
Top line.
Definitely. Well done. So yeah, that's it. We have read The Ultimate Volume 1 Superhuman from 2002 from Mark Millar. And now it's time to go ahead and show you guys what we've got coming up next week. And it is Shane's. Phil's pick.
You would think it's Shane's.
So tell everyone, Phil, on the podcast.
A beautifully drawn book by Daniel Warren Johnson, Wonder Woman, Dead Earth 2020. Looking forward to that.
It's a fantastic creative team, Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. Me and Phil love this team up. Shane doesn't. So come over next week. It will be a definite interesting chat. But yes, so
I think his artwork is lovely. I mean, it may look ugly in terms of what Shane expects from Wonder Woman, but I think it looks wonderful.
She has the beauty of Aphrodite. She is the.
This person does.
And it is. Right. Martin is very excited. He's been waiting for this one for a long time. But Connie, I don't like Wonder Woman, so maybe this will change my mind. And Kevin, I bought this in Comixology. It's only £3 something. I love Daniel Warren Johnson.
I wonder why it's only £3 something. I'm joking.
Anyway, on that condescending note, it's time to get our waves out and say bye to you all to see you next week. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Love you.